alongside head soccer coach Brian Haddock. John Edwards with you. And coach, another week goes by for you and the team. You had Jamboree last weekend, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had our Jamboree last Saturday out at Rockwood Summit. We played Rittner, Lindbergh, and Union, and it went pretty well. We walked out of there healthy. I thought the coaches really learned a lot about some of our guys. Jamborees are a little bit chaotic in that kids are coming and going, and we're subbing every 10 or 15 minutes, and the games are only 25 minutes long. So, maybe on the downside you don't get some consistency or flow, but, in the positive end, you get to see your guys stack up against a real opponent instead of just each other.
You said that the coaches get an opportunity to see these kids in kind of a different situation, and it kind of goes by. You get an opportunity to learn more about the kids. In saying that you get to learn more about the kids, you get to spend time, but it's a different situation once it's against somebody else in practice.
Yeah, and you could tell in the Jamboree it's your first pseudo game, I guess, and the energy kind of rises with one of the opponents being Lindbergh. Obviously, that's a rival school of ours that we're going to see throughout the year. Sometimes we can see them in districts or beyond. So you saw the energy from both teams rise to that occasion, and that's really good because that's something that's tough to mimic in practice. You can go activity after activity and drill after drill, but to mimic maybe a district sort of a game, against an opponent in a Jamboree was kind of nice to see.
You lucked out weather-wise.
It was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. We got to play on grass too, so that cooled things down. We were in the back behind Summit's main field that got that grass field kind of in the valley there, and that's where our 4 teams were.
Do you prefer playing a turf, or do you prefer getting away from it every once in a while just to practice, just to give the players a little bit of a break on their legs because the schedule kind of gets into a grind once the games start?
Yeah, well, in our training here, we're on turf 99% of the time, but as games go, we do prefer playing on both because every year we do have a couple opponents, most namely Webster, Chaminade, and I think in a tournament this year we're going to play on grass. But you're going to see that, and the way the state dictates the state playoffs, if we're fortunate enough to advance, we might have to play on a grass field. And I think it's in the purest sense of the game, I prefer grass, especially if it's a good surface.
You get an opportunity this week to have some more training before you hit your first game next week. What is the emphasis been this week as you head into that first game?
Doing little things right. This is the week, really it's the second full week that we've been together as a team. You start seeing, some of out of the players, you could see it in their eyes that they need to play a game. And sometimes, when you focus on some of the small things, those small things are kind of they get subsided by the boys, and they just sometimes forget to lose a little focus on doing those small things because they're looking forward to 6 days from now. So that's been our focus. We have been lucky enough this preseason to get a lot of full scrimmages in, not just with each other, but yesterday we did a fun little situation up at the field where our entire program mixed and played. So we had our varsity playing some of our B teamers playing our freshmen, and it kind of brought some competitiveness out there again, outside of the monotony of a practice. And it's usually always the second week where you start seeing that in the kids' eyes. So, our first game can't come quick enough.
You, in an opportunity yesterday doing that, how does that build the continuity from your youngest level players all the way through your varsity team?
It's great. We started this a couple years ago, and I think the juniors or seniors now remember their freshman year going up against, the likes of whatever those seniors were. And you hit the nail on the head. It's a great kind of a team builder, program builder. We treat our soccer program just like everything in the school, like one big family. Not that we're always able to see every level play every game because of our schedules, but we do that at practice. We do some activities where not just the players mix, but the coaches get to train. I'd like to run a drill with our freshmen, and we have our freshman coaches do some things like yesterday with our varsity. So there's a lot of positives that come with that, not just this year, but when those freshmen down the road become varsity members.
as we inch closer to that first game, how much have the starting 11 started to inch themselves maybe away from maybe guys that might come off the bench for you?
You know, we're seeing some good things in who we think might be, you know, our first, not just our 11, but, you know, we like to solidify 15, 16 guys, you know, to know when we're going into battle who that is going to be off the bench. But I think, in all fairness, it'll take a few weeks of real games again before, you know, we as coaches know who that starting 11 is. And that starting 11 on September 4th will be a different starting 11 that we see come Halloween. So that's the beauty of the process of the season.
So you get Eureka to start your season, and then once you kick off against Eureka, you have Eureka, then you play on Saturday again, and then your schedule gets really crazy. How hard or how difficult is it for you, your coaching staff, to evaluate players as you go through the process, because games come back to back, sometimes consecutive days, 3 games, 4 days, things like that?
Yeah, I don't know how hard it is, if that's the word, or if it's just us needing to adjust and using a game also like a practice. You know, I think in the first month of the season especially, where there's so many games we have in September, you know, beginning next week, you know, we treat some of our substitutions and managing the game half to half almost like a practice. So, you know, instead of seeing a kid at a practice, you know, maybe in a different position, we might throw him a bone for a 10-minute shift in a big game and use that as the instructive part of it as a practice. So it could be challenging, I guess, but I think we adapt to that as coaches, especially in September. And then come October, I think there's a little bit more of a consistent training game pattern, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Eureka, a team within the district. You always want to come off the field with a win, but how important is it, just to get some momentum as the season gets started, because you've had a little bit of extra time as far as training goes?
Yeah, you always want to start out on the right foot, but I guess I've grown to learn that, you know, and Eureka's going to say the same thing. How they look now is going to be completely different than how they're going to look at districts. But obviously the positive game-to-game, you know, progression is what we look at. But even more on a minor scale than that, we just want to come out playing hard in the first 10 or 15 minutes and set the tone early. And that'll be the same thing we say in September and October and come playoff time.
So the message doesn't really change.
Same thing. Yeah, just don't know who it's going to be yet on the field.
Just somebody put the ball in the net, right?
Easier said than done. Yeah. If it was that easy, we'd all do it.
Any challenges as far as that goes? I mean, you've assembled a deep roster, 25 players. Everybody's looking for guys to put the ball in the net, but how difficult is it come game time to have that consistency from players to get scoring for you?
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at is the difference between shooting and scoring / finishing. And we try to, you know, at practice, talk about, you know, we could shoot on goal all day, but, you know, can you finish off in a one-on-one situation in the box, or on a head ball, or on a set piece, whatever it might be. What we prefer as coaches is necessarily not looking at maybe 1 or 2 guys to score all the time, but can we have a roster of, you know, 5 to 10 guys who chip in
3 or 4,
you know, 5 to 10 goals
yeah.
the entire year, and that's how I always look at it. You know, we're not going to tell a kid not to score 20, but, you know, we really pride ourselves in deep rosters, and, you know, not putting too much onus or pressure on that one kid or that one captain or that one senior, because we rely out of our backs a lot, and we try to tell them, we want you guys attacking as well. You know, sometimes maybe you're not going to score a lot, but you can lead our attack, just like how we ask our forwards to be good defenders.
Defensively, over the last couple of years, you've been probably as strong as you've been. Has that challenge changed this year now that you lost some of your better backs who've moved on to Division II soccer in this year and last year?
Yeah, I mean, the kids have moved on, but that doesn't change the fact that we still want to be strong defensively. It's just the faces of who they're going to be is going to change. But so I would like to think that our brand of soccer is going to be just like how it was in 2016, 17, and 18, etc.
One of the most underused shots in soccer, in my opinion, is any time you get the ball near the 18, no one actually shoots the ball from there. They decide that they want to dribble into the box where 3 or 4 more guys can get around them, and then the shot goes away.
Or just make a pass. Yeah. That's kind of a personality and a mentality sort of a thing. And I just blame their prior coaches for that. No, it's just, I think the kids are, today, to answer your question, maybe more in tune with the possession game is for a rationale as to why that might happen. Whereas, when I grew up, I think it was more of a direct brand of soccer, and maybe you'd shoot from anywhere on the field, whereas now it's a little bit more prettier, possession, creative. I don't know. I'm trying to help my players out and get their backs on this one.
So most of the kids all play FIFA via their gaming devices, whatever. How difficult is it for you as a coach to see maybe a kid who's out on the field trying to pull off moves like that, knowing fully well that he just can't do it? I have this challenge with my son. He's 8.
Yeah.
And I like, every time I see him do it, I'm like, I put my hand on my head. I'm like, son, you are just 8. Let's focus on the normal here.
Yeah, and I think what your kids and my kids do, and then now our kids in high school, I think they just, I'll flip this question and almost make it a positive, to where I think they're just growing up not just playing FIFA, but watching the game every weekend, and they have that opportunity where I didn't have that, waking up in the morning and watching an EPL game. And it's what you see on ESPN, it's what these kids see on Snapchat, Twitter, etc. The highlight reel of moves. It's no different than our basketball kids watching, a slam dunk contest and trying to do that on the court. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's frustrating, but it's a different mode of thinking these days.
Coach, I appreciate a few minutes as always. We wish you best of luck next week against Eureka. We'll chat again before the home opener next Saturday.
Thank you. Good luck to our football team.
Head coach Brian Haddock joins us here. Best of luck to him next Wednesday against Eureka. We'll talk to him before our first home opener on Saturday the 7th.